Alright, what is going on, my dudes? We're back here today with a little update to the best champions to use a 7-star Awakening gem on. Now, there are lots of champions who benefit from their SIG ability. In fact, almost every single one of them do. And while 7-star Awakening gems are becoming much more available than they used to be, they're still a very hot resource. So you want to make sure you utilize them the best way possible so you're really going to see a huge impact to your roster. There are lots of 7-star champions that are just fine to use and rank up unduped. So, with that being said, we're going to be jumping in today to what my opinion would be the best champions to use your Awakening gems on for each class. We're going to start out with skill today. Let's start jumping right in, okay? For skill, we're looking at Nick Fury, Black Panther Civil War, and Crossbones as what I view as the best options. Now, Nick Fury, of course, is a completely different champion once you throw that SIG ability into him. SIG one and done is totally fine for him, right? So he gets that second life. It's going to make him much better on defense and significantly better on offense as well. Black Panther Civil War is a very, very powerful champion. This SIG ability is going to impact him both ways. It's going to make him a lot more annoying on defense, and it's going to allow him to ramp up much quicker on offense, giving you that faster battleground score and just in general questing as well, just able to get through the fight much quicker and have more burst on that special 2 once you ramp up to it. Crossbones, that's where he gets his purification from. Very powerful purification. It can go up to 90% at max SIG, so Crossbones is a great champion to use that SIG ability stone. So Crossbones is a great champion to use that Awakening gem on. Now, another thing to consider is that where these champions are, that's also an important factor here, right? So a champion that was like in the Gifted Guardians crystal, who really isn't going to be in the base pool anytime soon, is a lot different than someone who was in the launch pool, like Titania, for example, right? So is there a good chance to possibly dupe that champion? That's going to come up in here as well. Looking at great options, we have Okoye, Bullseye, Mcoc, and Silver Sable. So Okoye has a very interesting SIG ability, doesn't really need the SIG stone. She has 2 parts of her SIG ability, but the important one is that she essentially gets 3 out of 5 in the Deep Wounds Mastery, and this is going to count for her shocks as well. So that's going to pretty much like lengthen her debuffs, which is where all her damage comes from. So the gem into Okoye, very solid investment. For Bullseye, Bullseye gets that purification, which is really, really nice on knockdown, going to make him more annoying on defense. It's also going to give him that power sting immunity, right, at max SIG, which you can pretty much fight like any annoying power stinger, and you don't have to really worry about taking the damage back. So I personally really like Bullseye offensively, and I really like that ability against a lot of science champions. Mcoc gains increased combat power rate and increased critical rating, which is going to be really, really good for ramping him up without always needing to hit block, okay? So it can get you that special 2 faster, and going to get you ignited faster as well. Silver Sable is very, very solid after her buff, and her her signature ability is essentially going to increase her critical damage rating with the cruelty passives, and that's going to influence her critical shocks. So I think the only reason why I haven't ranked up my Sable to rank 3 personally is because she's unduped, and I really want that extra firepower in the shocks. So when I naturally dupe her, I'm not going to personally use a gem, but when I naturally dupe her, she will be going up. Alright, on to debatable, we have Korg and Atuma. Now, they're indebatable because these signature abilities are definitely more useful on defense than they are on offense. So if you want them for like Battlegrounds defense or Alliance War defense, this could be a pretty solid investment for you. But if you're looking more so for an attacker, I probably would stay away from putting gems into these 2 champions. When it comes to Moleman definitely does get a boost. He gets more attack while he's unstoppable, and when his health gets lower, so his damage can get really exceptionally high at 6,200 at a lower HP, but ideally you don't want to be at a low HP, right, when you're fighting, so he doesn't need it. But if you have some extra skill gems, I would definitely toss one into him. He was also in Omega Days, so he's not currently in the base pool, so he's not a champion you're probably going to dupe anytime in the super duper near future. Moving on to Science. You got Photon, Titania, and Red Guardian coming in hot, popping into top options. Photon is an absolute monster. We all know this. Without her signature ability, she doesn't get that block penetration. She isn't as beefy on defense, right? So Photon really, really does like that signature ability a lot. It makes her a completely different champion to fight. She also gains immunity to neutralize, which is very, very useful for all of those rank 4 beefy Rintras floating around now. Moving on to Titania. Titania really likes her SIG ability. Essentially, being able to double up the debuffs is going to double up your Fury, which is going to eventually double up your attack power. She also gains increased Fury potency against large and extra large defenders, which is really, really nice. And then Red Guardian. Red Guardian, the newest release 7-star champion, coming in hot to the top options, but he has a really nice stick ability. He also has an interesting thing in his stick ability where every 40 levels you gain an extra +1 to his, what's it called, the ablative shield? I completely forget what it's called, but he has the shield. You don't need this, but what I really like is that just at Sig 1, or I'd say taking the Sig 20 at least, right, you get increased critical rating per the amount of unique debuffs on the opponent. So that's really, really good when you want the special 2 and the heavy attack to crit. Alright, moving on to great options here. We got Spidey 2099, Spider-Punk, Count Nefarious, Silk, and Luke Cage. So Spidey 2099 has some of the best passive power control in the entire game. What makes his sig ability so good is that you can really cheese some of those defenders when they have that passive power gain by just hitting into block and nuking them over and over and over. When you cross a bar of power, or when it hits 0 power, going like that, it's going to have a chance to reapply all of the ruptures that explode. Makes him really, really fun, and that's a big, big portion to his damage output. Also, when there's a wither on the opponent, it's going to increase his combat power rate by, I believe, up to 25%, which is definitely very noticeable. Spider-Punk has those taunt debuffs, which is, well, they're not called taunt debuffs, they're called encore passives, actually. And those place rupture debuffs on the opponent when they use the same special attack when they have the encore. This is also going to act like a taunt, it's going to, or act like a weakness, going to reduce the attack rating or the damage done by the special attacks that corresponds to the encore, which makes him extremely tanky. Also ramps up his damage a lot quicker because more ruptures equals more damage, and that's how he does his damage. Spider-Punk, still a very underrated champion, very, very powerful, loss of control. Count Nefaria, I really like his sig ability quite a lot. He does not need it for damage, but when it comes to sustainability, it's kind of like that Scorpion special too, where when the opponent is healing, you're going to be healing back from it, so I really do like that on him a lot. The higher the sig, the more you'll heal. He also counters Mystic Dispersion at a higher sig, but you don't really need a super duper high sig on him. I have him at like sig 20 and it's more than enough for me personally, and I've never really had an issue with sustainability or power control with him. Silk does some stuff with like regen reversal, but also she gains that slow debuff just at sig 1, and that's really, really useful for a lot of different matchups. Really, really solid whenever she has her Fury passive up, which she gets from her heavy attack. You're going to be placing a slow on the opponent, or whenever you have them striking them in the corner. So that's very, very useful for lots of nodes and lots of defenders. Then we have Luke Cage. He gains that indestructible passive, which is really, really solid. Luke Cage, a fantastic champion after the buff, and the sig ability makes him just that much more sustainable. It also increases his block proficiency as well, I believe, when his indestructible is on cooldown. Alright, moving on to debatable down here. We have Void. Void, just because a sig 1 Void is not really going to move the needle too much for you. You really want to invest some sigs into him, and I personally feel like I wouldn't want to put a 7-star gem into him unless I'm going all the way to 200. Then we have Spot. Spot loves his sig ability, but again, kind of does want it at a higher sig. The Fury is really, really nice for him, and also the ability to use that special 2 after you build up a bunch in like that portal bank and get that extra burst damage. I made a video on that a few years ago at this point. Go check it out to find out how to really utilize his sig ability. Fantastic champion, Spot is, but you kind of also want him on at a highish sig to really see the benefits from that. And then Morbius. Morbius kind of goes like immortal in different scenarios where it's whenever there's like that direct damage, you kind of like won't die from it, which is actually very useful, especially against Mystic defenders with degen. So yeah, Morbius, I feel like he kind of like fell off in the meta a bit, but he's still very, very solid and very, very good, especially if you have him ranked up. It's a very good sig ability. Moving on to Mystic, we got Kushala, Mojo, and Diablo. So Kushala, different feeling champion when you have her awakened. A lot of her stuff lasts longer, her spells specifically, they last longer, her blessings, whatever they're called, and it makes her a lot less stressful to play and more reliable in my opinion. She also kind of likes that high sig. Kushala is a very, very powerful champion, so if you're a fan of her, you have her ranked up, I would say definitely put the gem into her. I would also recommend some sigs as well. Mojo, a super duper underrated attacker. Go check out Andy the Ruff's channel, how he's just like wrecking things in war with his rank 4 Mojo. Absolutely insane. I've been a huge Mojo fan since day one. It's one of like the early obsessions on my channel back when I was like just like making a videos for fun in like my old basement on like my laptop. I loved Mojo when he was released, dude. Then we got Diablo. Diablo is a fantastic champion, very, very powerful, and his sig ability increases his damage and also makes him more sustainable, especially if you're on the recoil masteries. So yeah, Diablo, great option for a gem. Moving on to great options. Everyone's a great option here. It's just, they're just arbitrary titles at the end of the day. We have Tigra. Tigra, America Chavez, Spiral, Spidey Supreme, and the Hood. So Tigra, keep in mind, okay? Tigra probably benefits at the highest sig more than any other Mystic champion here, but a sig 1 Tigra, you wasted the gem. A sig 20 Tigra, you kind of wasted the gem. Unless you're at like around at least sig 100, I wouldn't put a gem into Tigra. Also, Tigra has that unique playstyle you have to vibe with. You all know how that is by now. Tigra coming to the game very soon. But yeah, Tigra is an absolutely insane 7-star. She feels ridiculous at rank 3 and rank 4. I'll tell you that right now, and definitely worth the gem and definitely worth the SIGs if you are a Tigra fan. Just keep in mind, you gotta put the SIGs in. America Chavez gets a really nice boost from being awakened. It really increases her firepower. It gives you like extra dimensions when you heavy cancel into your special 2. She can also get supercharged as well. So yeah, America Chavez, one of the top Mystic champions. I feel like she isn't talked about as much anymore, but she's still used very, very often in high tier war, and she's consistently banned for me in Battlegrounds, my rank 3. So I feel like I can't even consider her to rank 4 because she's going to be permabanned, and I don't really want to rank up permaban champions. Spiral. Spiral has a really nice sig ability as well. It makes her an option for a lot of hazard shifts nodes if you can stack up the fervors on the opponent. It also makes her get that mystic ability where you regen damage during special attacks. Spiral, a fantastic serpent counter, obviously, and serpent's very often placed on a lot of those hazard shift nodes, so that's very targeted towards that, and Spiral's very great for it if you do want to invest the SIGs into her. Spidey Supreme is a very, very solid champion, actually, especially as a 7-star. The damage is really, really good. His SIG ability essentially increases the potency of all of his blessings, so you really do kind of want that on him, and he also benefits from those SIGs kind of like in a flat line. So if you're a big fan of Spidey, I think that he is a solid investment, but keep in mind it will take an investment. The Hood, one of the most underrated champions on this entire list in my opinion. His SIG ability gives him extra power steal abilities when he's invisible on his mediums and on his special 2. Really, really solid SIG ability, actually worth the SIGs. I'm considering taking mine up, his SIG level up actually, because it's very useful to just like keep cycling those special 2, staying invisible, stealing the opponent's power, not really worrying about baiting specials. Really solid champion. And then debatable, we have Kindred, Purgatory, and Rintra. So Kindred, it's more so of a defensive ability at the end of the day. It gives you that root, right? I mean, how many times have you been fighting Kindred? You're at like around 100% health. You get him down to 1% health and you end up losing the match. It's happened to me on more than 10 occasions. So without that SIG ability, that would not happen. So that's really, really important for Kindred. Very, very important. With Purgatory, it increases the duration of all of her soul abilities. It also allows you to steal a soul when you are finishing the fight in a special attack. So Purgatory, very underrated champion, very powerful champion. And then Rintra. I put Rintra into debatable because it seems like half the community likes his SIG ability, the other half doesn't. Personally, I really like it. It allows you to spam the special 1 and get them into the corner before you root them up and bait a special attack and then stack on ruptures and go for a big special 2. So personally, my Rintra is SIG 200, zero regrets. I would do it a million times over, but I put him down into debatable for that very reason. Moving on to Cosmic. We got Serpent, Gladiator, and Hyperion. Right away, I know somebody in the comments is going to be like, what about Hercules? This is just for 7 stars. So no Hercules here. Obviously, he would be there. Serpent. Serpent is just an absolute monster on both sides of the field, dude. I feel like people don't even realize his SIG ability isn't just for the death immunity, which is fantastic, right, on defense when you put him on that side, but on offense, it also increases his damage as well. Every Cold Force charge is going to get increased attack rating, and he gets a lot of those, right? So yeah, that's a great investment if you want to put a gem into Serpent, without a doubt. SIGs, rank up materials, Awakening gems. Serpent's very good. We have Gladiator. I love Gladiator SIG ability for so many reasons. Turns so many tech abilities off with the Vigilance countering the armor abilities, which is so good. Also, the true damage he gets from the Vigilance is also so good. Makes Gladiator absolutely incredible if you know what you're doing. Hyperion. Hyperion is so good at SIG 1. You don't need to invest a lot of stones into him, but he's a different feeling champion with and without that SIG ability. So I would still put him in top options here for Cosmic. Moving on to great options, we have Null. Now, Null is so good, dude, especially as a rank 3 or a rank 4. Null is super duper underrated somehow, man, both on attack and defense. He can do a lot of things. He's a fantastic champion. He doesn't need a super duper high sig, in my opinion. I know a lot of people say he needs 200 to get the start with the 13 of the Living Abyss debuffs. I don't think he needs to go all the way up. Solid like sig 100 is a nice sweet spot for him, in my opinion, but if you're a huge Null fan, taking him to rank 4, I would say go all the way to the moon, take him to 200, and yeah, he also doesn't need it, by the way. Null is super duper fine, unduped, but kind of like Black Panther Civil War, it starts that ramp up a lot nicer. Alright, Medusa. Medusa just recently got buffed with the Gifted Guardians Crystal, and she gains that true accuracy buff. And of course, the auto block with the Living Strand she's always had. It's going to make her a lot tougher on defense with the Living Strands, right? So she's a very solid two-way champion nowadays. Plus, the true accuracy is really, really good for countering auto block, specifically in the tech class. And then we have Gallon. Gallon's a 7-star now, guys, and Gallon is so good on duped. You don't need the ability on duped, but whenever there is the power shenanigans going on, he just completely cheeses the fight. And Sig 60 is where you want to keep Gallon. That is his sweet spot for sure. Anything more than that, you don't want to give him stones. We got Scream. Scream has a lot of different benefits in her Sig ability. She counters Spider Champion, she counters armor, she gains regen when she converts her, she has all the buffs, and she gains regen when she converts the buffs. So lots of stuff going on in Scream Sig, and everything is pretty beneficial. So yeah, Scream is a very, very good champion. Incredibly good champion, and I feel like she's like not being used a lot right now. Scream is crazy good, dude. So yeah, if you have a Scream, go play with Scream, because Scream is really fun. Angela is super duper good. She has all of her damage on dupe, but she gets some crazy utility when she becomes awakened. She counters auto block, she counters nullify in the cosmic class, and then also she reduces the duration of all damaging debuffs, which makes her great for hazard shift lanes and other stuff as well, especially when paired with Odin, because it's all based on how many buffs are on her. Yeah, Angela is a fantastic cosmic champion. Moving on to Debatable. We have Adam Warlock, Beta Ray Bill, Debatable, Beta Ray Bill, that's a fun one to say, and Corvus Glaive. Now, Corvus is down here because, hey man, if you don't really play like high tier war, you probably won't use Corvus. You probably don't need to use the gem. Even if you do play high tier war, you probably won't use Corvus. He's definitely used still, but not super duper often. So I mean, like, it's a fantastic sig ability still. You know, it still is very, very good. Corvus is still very, very good. But it's debatable, man. It's debatable. Okay, I think it's a good spot for it. We got Beta Ray Bill. It's going to increase the increase the burst damage on his shocks and everything like that. So he does not need it. But if you're a big Beta Ray Bill fan, he gets even more of a powerhouse when he's at a high sig. But yeah, he's solid on duped, but also if you want him to be even better, you can take him to a high sig. And then Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock gets some nice utility with his pod, where he gets the regen every time it activates, and then he also gains the ability to stun the opponent every time it activates. So this is a really good on defense, but also on attack. Makes him very, very sustainable. Love that sig ability, and I love Adam Warlock, actually. Moving on to tech. Future Ant-Man, he's coming. Future Ant-Man coming to the game, Sentinel and Guardian. So Future Ant-Man gets a really, really nice benefit from his sig ability. He kind of gets that regen from the bleed and the incinerate, and that's really, really solid, especially at a high sig. It reduces the duration of that as well. He also caps out the damage of like bursts and like anything like that tech ability where it's like you can't lose more than 10% of his max health. Yeah, so Future Ant-Man at a super duper high sig becomes really annoying on defense and really reliable on offense. Future Ant-Man is an incredible two-way champion, and if you do end up pulling him when he is released and you have a tech gem, do not feel bad about putting it into him. Sentinel, very similar to Future Ant-Man, is now an incredible two-way champion. I really like his sig ability a lot. There's been many times where Sentinel's sig ability specifically is what won somebody the match in Battlegrounds on defense. It's when he gets those armor up effects, and then when they expire, he gains the bursts of power, and he'll go for a special 3, and then he'll go up to 100% health, and then you die, right? So Sentinel is really, really solid. You like have to make sure you have a counter for Sentinel. He's very tanky on attack. It increases the duration of all of his debuffs, so really, really solid stuff. Guardian. Now, Guardian, you preferably want to have it a really super high sig. I feel like Guardian probably shouldn't be in top options right now, but Guardian's really, really solid. He's very reliable. At a high sig, he's got an insane energy resistance, bleed resistance, critical resistance, really good champion, fantastic damage, especially with the Hulkbuster relic. But yeah, Guardian is a different champion, duped and unduped. He has a lot of utility in his kit. We go into great options. We have Prowler, Ultron, Stark Spidey, Arnim Zola, and Shuri. So Prowler. At first glance, it seems like Prowler's SIG ability isn't super important, but once you play with the SIG 200 Prowler, you're like, oh, okay, that essentially doubles the damage I do after Special 2. That's pretty good, right? So Prowler is, he gains increased critical rating when the opponent is faltered, right? So you want that to happen during the Special 2. That way you can pretty much place double the amount of ruptures at the end of the day and burst them when they're incinerated and do a lot of damage and have a lot of fun. Prowler is an incredible champion. We have Ultron, gaining that energy regeneration, right, when you like take energy attacks, and also reducing the duration of shock, and I believe incinerate, which makes him immune to bleed, immune to poison, immune to slow, and like pseudo immune, right, to those other damaging debuffs. So Ultron has a fantastic SIG ability and definitely worth SIGs as well. Stark Spidey, again, he's in that like different champion duped club, man, where like you gain the increased critical rating, and even at SIG 20, oh my god, you really feel it with him. You really, really feel it with him. Even at SIG 1, it feels like a different champion. And rank 3 Stark Spidey is an absolute nuke, fantastic champion, very frail, so, you know, if you don't like that, keep that in mind. Especially in the tech class, there's a lot of armor, a lot of, like, very tanky champions, and Stark Spidey is not that. So, yeah, you know, keep that in mind. Arnim Zola. Love Arnim Zola, one of my most wanted champions right now. I think I'm missing 12 champions in the 7-star pool as a whole, and he's unfortunately one of them. So I really want him so badly, and he's very solid on attack with the SIG ability. That's where he gets the burst damage from when you explode all of the disintegrates. And yeah, Arnim Zola is super duper fun. He doesn't need it for defense, so if you like ranked up a Zola specifically for defense, you don't need to give him the gem. Keep that in mind. But if you want to use him on attack, it's definitely nice to have. Shuri. Shuri gets the ability to block unblockable attacks and also gains increased perfect block chance when higher the SIG. At SIG 1, you can block the unblockables, and it's extremely powerful. So Shuri is just a utility beast, and yeah, aged like fine wine over the past few years, honestly. I think I just put a strike through all of these. That's an accident. So, Shocker, Hulkbuster, and Red Skull. Shocker, man. Shocker is super duper good. This was really, tech was my hardest one to do because I feel like I can really put all the debateables in great options and like move things around. Don't think too much into that. Shocker really likes the SIG ability because especially if you're at SIG 200, dude, you can get to like 1.9 bars of power, go for a special 1, then immediately go for a special 2, and then just kill the opponent with that heavy attack. Yeah, Shocker is really, really good. Even at SIG 20, it's a nice amount of power back, so I would say just like putting a few SIGs into Shocker and a gem is not the worst idea. Red Skull becomes a much better attacker with it. He does not need it for defense, so very similar to Zola. If you're only ranking up Red Skull specifically for defense, you don't have to worry about this, but on attack, his power control gets much better, and he has very solid power control. Very, very underrated attacker, Red Skull, so keep that in mind. And he doesn't need a high SIG, so SIG 1 Red Skull is super duper fine. Then we got Hulkbuster, my boy Hulkbuster. Dude, the regen on this guy is actually nuts, dude. So like you can go from like 15% give or take up to like, I think on attack it's like 65 to 70%. On defense it's up to like 90%. That makes him insane on defense if you use him as a two-way, and there's lots of metas he's very, very powerful in. Love Hulkbuster. Does not need it for offense, though. Keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. He definitely does not need it. I would personally do it, but he does not need it. I can't advise you to do that over other tech gems if he's not like your favorite, like he is mine. Moving on to Mutant. We got Omega Red, Jean Grey, and Dazzler. Sign Omega Red up for different champion with the SIG. He needs it, absolutely needs it if you're an Omega Red fan. If you have him ranked up, you gotta put the gem into him. He wants the SIGs as well. SIG 200, Omega Red as a 7-star, unbelievable. Mine is rank 4, unbelievable. Kills things in like 20 seconds, absolutely insane. We have somebody in my battle group named X-Phase who's on like a 450 deathless streak in War over the past like 10 seasons. No exaggeration, by the way. And he pretty much uses Omega Red for like 90 to 95% of his fights. So I always get comments that people are like, oh, Omega Red is out of the meta. You don't know what you're talking about. Dude, absolutely not. He's one of the most dominant champions if you know how to use him. He's so good. Jean Grey, new champion, but very, very good. Most people do not have Jean Grey, but dude, she is absolutely worth the gem. She is worth rank 4. She is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Her Sig ability does a bunch of things. First of all, it allows you to go for a stun passive instead of a stun debuff against those skill champions who love to shrug. That on its own is very, very important for, you know, a mutant champion. That's very, very great to have. She also increases the duration of her Neuroshock debuffs by like up to like 6 seconds or something like that. And she has the uncanny passives, right? Which, like, it's kind of like a power efficiency in a way, but in a different style. You get to keep one of those after your special attacks, just making all of the ramping up with her just so much smoother and so much quicker. Jean's an awesome champion. Once the Titan pool rolls over and she's in there, a lot of people will probably start using her, and she'll get, like, a lot more coverage, I think. Moving on to great options, we have Onslaught, Mr. Sinister, Nightcrawler, Domino, and Iceman. So Onslaught, probably the best champion in the game, right? He's got the top prestige as well, so that on its own is a decent enough reason to use a gem on him if you're going to put Sig into him, but also, dude, you get the increased daunted potency and everything, and he becomes just more powerful overall, especially during the special attacks. Mr. Sinister gets a whole slew of benefits with all of his different genetic codes and all those fun things. Mr. Sinister, absolutely ridiculous after the buff, and Mr. Sinister is not in the base pool or the Titan pool, and I don't think he's ever been in like any crystal whatsoever. So if you have a duped Sinister, that means you use a gem on him, and a lot of people have a duped Sinister, which means he must be a great option for the gem. Nightcrawler is also a very rare champion, and after the buff is very good. I feel like there's lots of coverage on Nightcrawler at first when he was buffed, and he kind of like fell off over time, but he's still really, really good. Makes him a much better defender even at Sig 1. It also increases the potency of his instant bleeds on attack, which is really, really nice. But yeah, the Sig ability defensive hit there is that like you can't use like slow on him unless, or like decelerate, unless you are a tech champion, which really reduces the amount of counters he has, and in like a stun immune meta or something like that, he could be really nasty on defense. Domino, self-explanatory, right? This is a defensive rank up at the end of the day. Our defensive gem use at the end of the day does not need it for offense. If you're not going to use Domino defensively, do not put a gem into her, do not put Sigs into her, but if you do, keep in mind, most tech champions counter Domino nowadays, so I don't know if I would really advise that right now, especially because she was in the launch pool, but if you don't have a Domino counter, dude, like putting Domino on defense still does things. Speaking of that, Iceman, dude. Iceman's resurgence as a 7-star has been great. He's incredible as a 7-star on attack, especially in Alliance War. Very, very useful on a lot of different nodes, but on defense, if you don't have a Cold Snap counter, dude, you are taking so much damage. Preferably at a high Sig, though, keep that in mind. But yeah, Iceman is super duper good. And then for debatable down here, I'm gonna have to cover my face. Uno momento. Bam! We have Deadpool X-Force, Gentle, and Dust. So Deadpool X-Force, his Sig ability is solid, but it's mostly a Nick Fury counter. Now that's very useful, but I can't really advise that if that's like, you know, the only thing you're going to be using that for. That's like the main use for the Sig ability in my opinion, but it's very, very solid for doing that at a high Sig. Keep that in mind. So I would not advise it. My Deadpool X-Force is rank 3, unduped, and he's just fine. Gentle is a very underrated, solid champion right now, and his Sig ability kind of gives him that power efficiency stuff with the special attacks as well while he's unstoppable, but also reduces that natural recoil damage he has even more so as well. Not the biggest deal at the end of the world, the recoil with or without the Sig ability, but hey man, if you're a big Gentle fan and you love to like really mess with him with like the recoil stuff and max out his damage, then that's a solid investment for you. And then for Dust gains a lot of abilities. She gains the Steadfast against skill champions, their special attacks, so you can block unblockable special attacks. She also pretty much just like increases her ramp up in a lot of different ways. Dust is a very, very underrated champion in my opinion, and it's definitely worth a gem if you are going to rank her up and invest in her, man. So yeah, that is my list for May 2025. I'm gonna upload this a few days before May, I think, probably on the 27th of April, but that's okay. Don't call the cops on me, alright? So this is my opinion here for the top options for Awakening Gems and why. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know if you picked up a gem during spring cleaning, or if you're planning to, and what gem you're targeting, and who you want to awaken. And let me know if you disagree with any of this, or if you think I left anybody out in the comment section below, or if you think no one should be on here. Let me know. Tell me all the things, alright? I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll be seeing you around, man.